everybody, I am Chef Ben, and this is Dinner with Ben, episode 10, brought to you by AshWurks Cutting Boards. You can find them at ashwurks.ca and at the Seaport Farmers Market every day, I think. And by TeaNorth Carbonated Organic Iced Tea. This week we'll be making one of my absolute favorites, fish tacos. And with this we'll be making peach salsa, guacamole, cumin and lime sour cream, and red beans and rice. I'm very excited for this, and I hope that you are too. But before we jump in, I'm just going to give it a minute or two for a few more people to show up, and then we'll kind of jump into things and get everything going. One thing we're going to do really quickly before we jump into things is I'm going to take a few minutes and show you how to make homemade tortillas, because I think it's important that you know how to do it. It's not difficult, and you'll see just how easy it can be. Hello Donna, thanks for joining me. Hello Wendy. Hello. Thanks for coming everybody. So as I was saying, before we jump into things, we're going to wait another couple of minutes, but before we jump into things, I'm going to do a quick demo on how to make tortillas, because I think it's important that you know how. So we'll give it about 2 minutes, and then we'll do the tortillas, and then we'll get into everything else. In the meantime, if you guys want to kind of get ahead, you can preheat your oven to 350. So I'm going to turn my oven on right now, and it's just 350. So we're going to bake our fish rather than pan frying it or anything like that. Yeah. Okay. You know what, let's just go right into the tortillas, and then that'll give us a few minutes to see if anybody else shows up, and if not, we'll jump right in to dinner. So for tortillas, there's a few different products you can use. I'm making corn tortillas. Obviously I can't eat flour, but I like corn tortillas anyway. So what I use lately is called pan. It's masa. So there's a few different brands of masa you can buy. There's pan that has a white one, which this is, and then a yellow one, and then there's maseca, which is like a yellow, kind of even coarser ground corn. So this differs from cornmeal in that the corn is processed before it's ground. So it's actually cooked in like a lime solution or an alkaline solution. Traditionally it would be served or cooked with wood ash and then ground and then dried. And so that's what this is. This is cooked and dried corn, or cooked, ground, and dried corn. So because it's already cooked, it doesn't actually take that long to cook, and it doesn't take that long to hydrate either, as opposed to regular cornmeal, which takes a really long time to hydrate. Now, so when he said Superstore, yes, you can get this at Superstore. I haven't seen it at Sobeys, but Sobeys has the other brand Maseca, which is really good as well. Now, to make tortillas, and this is the way that tortillas have been made for thousands of years. The tortillas date back about 10,000 BC, and they've been made this way pretty much since then. And I should say the reason why the corn is cured in the alkaline solution first is because that actually breaks the corn down and makes it more digestible. So you're actually getting more nutrients out of the corn when it's like this, as opposed to just eating like a corn on the cob or something. So all we have to do to this, just going to take a little bowl. There are measurements on the back. I generally don't follow them, because I'm a rebel. I'm a rebel, guys. So I'm just going to add some of this in here. I'm going to add a pinch of salt, and then I'm going to add some warm water. On the back of the bag, I think that was a little too much water. That's okay. On the back of the bag, it says to add, I think, 2 cups of the corn to 2.5 cups of water. I find that ratio is a little bit off, but that's just my personal taste. So all I'm going to do is mix this up, and again, this is just the corn flour, salt, and warm water. And you just want it to be about the consistency of Play-Doh. And you can knead it a little bit. And I find it works better if you let it sit for about 10 minutes after you mix it up, because that way the corn just kind of fully absorbs all the water, but it isn't necessary. You don't have to do it. So we have this ball of dough. This is masa. I'm just going to break off a piece about the size of a golf ball. Hello, Marcelie. Thanks for coming. I'm just doing a quick tortilla tutorial before we jump into dinner. So I'm just going to roll this ball of masa, about the size of a golf ball. And then I have this beautiful cast iron tortilla press. Now, if you don't have a tortilla press at home, which I didn't until very recently, you can just put 2 pieces of plastic wrap down this between it and then push it down to the pot. You can roll the masa into a sheet, just kind of dusting with the corn flour into a sheet and cut it with a cutter. But this is definitely the best way to do it, I find. So the reason we're using the plastic is because the dough will stick to both sides of the press and then it just messes up. So I didn't put the dough right in the center because the press is going to push the dough that way. So I actually put it back just a little bit, about 1/3 of the way back. I'm just going to push. And I'm going to keep my pan up. This pan is already hot because I just finished making my tortillas for dinner. So just like that, we have a tortilla. Okay? So pan just needs to heat up for a second. So making the actual tortillas does not take any time. It's cooking them that takes time. But if you have a big griddle or even on the barbecue, you can do this very, very quickly because you can do multiple tortillas. I can only do one at a time. So I'm just going to put that in there. It should be a little bit hotter, but it's okay. So I'm going to set this aside. Wash my hands. And now I have tortillas that I just made right here, and they're wrapped in a towel. Now by wrapping them in a towel, and it's important that it's not like tin foil or something like that, you want it to be able to breathe a little bit. But by wrapping them in the towel, they kind of breathe, and they get very soft and kind of chewy. If you just eat them straight out of the pan, they're delicious, but they don't have the greatest texture. They'll kind of break when you bend them. These ones are very pliable, they're very soft, and they're very, very delicious. And so this has only been in here, what, 30 seconds, and it's almost ready to flip. If the pan was hot, it would be. So it's just starting to bubble a little bit. Okay, and it's stuck a little because I just cooked a whole bunch of tortillas. I don't oil the pan when I do tortillas, and the only problem with that is that it then gets a little smoky in the apartment. But if you're doing this on a barbecue or something like that, you're not going to have that issue, and you can cook it right on the grill. And so it really only takes about a minute, minute and a half if you have a cold pan to cook them, and then you have really, really delicious homemade tortillas. And this bag will make probably about, probably like 60 or 70 tortillas, and it cost me $2, $3 maybe. You can't really argue with that, and it takes no time, and I promise you these are the best tortillas you'll ever eat. Now the white corn, which is what this is, has a really mild taste. It doesn't really taste like a corn tortilla. It tastes more like a flour tortilla. And so I've been using it just as a regular flatbread, like I made a curry last night, or a tagine rather, and I used it to dip the bread, or to like scoop up the sauce and everything, and it worked really well. You couldn't really taste it as a tortilla. The yellow stuff has more of a corn flavor, but it's still really good. And what's great is that if you have any of these left over the next day, you can just fry them. Just cut them up, fry them in oil, and then you have homemade tortilla chips. And it's so good. Okay? So, yeah, so that's done. Done. Again, the pan could have been a little hotter, but you get the idea. So, what it would look like if the pan was hotter because it would just have that nice little brown on it, and delicious. And you can kind of see, so the texture of this versus the texture of this, see it's kind of crumbly. That's just because it was allowed to steam. Okay? And you can make these as big or as small as you want. I like mine small. That's just personal preference. And I'm just going to leave these wrapped in the towel until I'm ready to use them. And the reason why you don't want to wrap them in plastic, or in tin foil rather, is because you want them to be able to breathe a little bit. Heather asks where she can get the tortilla press. I actually got that on Amazon. I know that Stokes has some right now that are pretty cheap. They're not the greatest, but they'll work for home use. And there is like a Latin American grocery store on North Street, right across like kitty corner to Gus's Pub, and I'm pretty sure they sell them from what I've heard, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, I got that on Amazon. I think it was like $60, but this is like a heavy duty cast iron one. You can get a pretty good one for like $20 or $30. So, and I mean, I love it. I use it all the time, especially where I'm gluten free and corn flour is gluten free. So I make tortillas a lot and use it just as a flatbread. Okay, so that's kind of the thing about tortillas. I love them, and for a long time I hated corn tortillas. Let me just say that. If there's somebody out there going, "Oh, corn tortillas are gross," if you've never had a fresh-made, homemade corn tortilla, you don't know what you're missing. It is incredible. They're so good. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into dinner. So if you don't know, we're making fish tacos, and with it, we are making peach salsa, we're going to make guacamole, we're going to make a cumin and lime sour cream to top it, and we're going to make beans and rice. I'm super excited, and my burner's still on. Uh-oh. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and turn your oven on to 350. We need to get that hot so we can cook the fish. And luckily the temperature's cooling down a bit outside, so it's not boiling in here. And soon we'll be able to get into more like fall meals, which I'm super pumped about. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get our rice going. So for the rice, we're going to use a can of red kidney beans. I kind of hoped that you could get a small one or a smaller one, but the only smaller cans I could find had seasoning in them. They were flavored. I don't know why. These ones don't have flavor. I'm going to use the whole can because I don't really have any use for extra beans right now, but that's okay. Beans and rice are delicious. So we're going to use the red beans. I have half a cup of just regular basmati rice. We are going to use half of a red onion. We're going to use half of a tomato. We're going to use one jalapeno. And then I think that's it. Sorry, I printed this stuff really small. I need to read these sometimes, I'm sorry. 2 cloves of garlic. And then we have cilantro and lime that we're going to put in the rice after it's cooked. Okay? So first thing we need to do is kind of dice our veg. So we'll start with our onion. Take the top off. Okay, flatten the onion. Cut it down the middle. And then we're just going to peel it. Just going to take this whole layer off because I can't get with it. Okay, so hand flat, don't put pressure on the onion, just hold it in place, knife flat, you're not pushing the knife through, right? You guys know this. Hello Carol, thanks for joining us. We're just going to glide the knife, okay, just like that, and we're going to leave the root intact. Most of you should know this already. We're going to turn the onion root facing away from us, and just using the tip of our knife, we're just going to make some vertical slices, and the onion is fully intact, it's not falling apart. Right? And then we're just going to slice it, and evenly diced onion. Right? Okay. And then that and the peel is the only waste we have. Pretty cool, right? Now the tomato, We're going to do the same thing right down the middle. If your knife isn't really sharp, it's much better to just slice the tomato and then dice it, because this really only works if your knife is sharp. And if the tomato is really firm. If you have a soft tomato, this isn't going to work. So if your knife isn't sharp, you would just take a piece of tomato like this and dice it like that. And keep your tomato and onion separate because we're going to add them to the pot at different times. And actually, we can start preheating our pot. Just put it on medium heat, okay? So again, I have the pot on medium heat, and I have the oven on 350, and I just diced half a red onion, and I'm dicing half a tomato. Now, we are using basmati rice tonight. That is not really a traditional Mexican rice, even though rice isn't native to Mexico, but they do have rices that they use more often than others. Basmati is not one of them, but I really like basmati. It's a really good all-purpose rice, and it's pretty much what I use for everything, except for obviously sushi and risotto. I don't like having a whole bunch of different rices around because they'll go bad before I use them all. And yes, white rice doesn't go bad. What am I trying to say? White rice takes a very long time to go bad, but brown rice will go bad fairly quickly. Anyway, so I'm going to do my jalapeno now. I just cut the top off. And again, if anybody out there is watching and needs me to go slower or has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So I'm just going to cut my jalapeno right down the middle lengthwise. And I think we're only going to use half of this probably. Smell your jalapeno. If it burns your nostrils a little bit when you smell it, it's going to be really hot. If it doesn't, then it'll be fine. So mine doesn't, so I'm going to use the whole thing. But I am still going to take the seeds and ribs out. So all I did is I cut the jalapeno in half, and then I cut it in half again. And then I'm just going to run my knife very carefully under the ribs and take out the ribs and seeds. So with any kind of capsaicin, any pepper, the majority of the heat, not all of it, but the majority of the heat is in the seeds and the ribs, so that's why we take them out. Unless you like really spicy, and then by all means, keep it in. I like spicy, but I like a mild spicy. That didn't make sense. I actually really like really spicy sometimes, but in this application, I prefer a milder heat. Hello, Carla. Thanks for joining us. So with the jalapeno, you want to cut it as small as you can. And the trick, people have a tendency to cut things like they'll just kind of like chop and chop and chop, and everything's different sizes. It's all like kind of all over the place. The secret to cutting things evenly is to first cut strips. So we would call this like a julienne, right? So you cut things in even sized strips, and then you line them all up, and then you cut them in even sized dices. So this is a very fine dice, but it's all even. And it's important that everything's even because everything's going to cook at the same time. That's it. That's the only reason. So my pot is hot. I'm going to add my onions in first. And again, it's just over medium heat. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in there. I'm going to throw my onions in. And I'm just going to finish up my jalapeno here. I hope it goes without saying, but when you're dealing with peppers like this, make sure you wash your hands before you cut your face or, anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Because it will burn you. The chemicals that are causing the heat in your mouth will burn your eyes, they'll burn your genitals, they'll burn anywhere you happen to touch before you wash your hands. So always make sure to wash your hands after you're working with peppers. just going to give my onions a little stir, and I'm going to chop up 2 quick cloves of garlic. Now I'm just going to cut the ends off. Get rid of those, and I'm going to give the cloves a little crush. Okay. And we will just get rid of this stuff. Now we're not going to puree the garlic. We want a little bit of texture in there, so we're just going to slice it as thin as we can. Nice and thin. Okay. Perfect. So my onions are starting to turn translucent. The red is starting to kind of go out of them, which is perfect. So I'm going to add my garlic, and I'm going to add my jalapenos. Okay, we're just going to let that cook down for a minute. Now, to the rice, we are going to add, what are we going to add? Oh, that's it. Okay, just that and the tomato. Never mind. In the meantime, though, I'm just going to get this pan out of the way. And I'm just going to open and drain my beans. So, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but the liquid that comes out of here, or chickpeas or white beans or any kind of, bean or legume that's canned, it looks really disgusting. But I mean, there's not really anything in the can that's gross. Really, it's just the cooking liquid from the beans, because the beans are put in here and then they're cooked, right? So this liquid can actually be used as an egg substitute. You can whip it like eggs, use it in place of like eggs in baking if you have a vegan friend or something like that. Probably don't want to use the red bean stuff for baking because it's gonna, unless you're making like a vegan chocolate cake or something, that would be cool, or a vegan mousse you could use, and it would add to the color. Yeah, just a little tip on the side there. So we're just going to drain them and rinse them. This thing isn't quite big enough for all of them. Okay, so you can start to smell the garlic in here. I think it looks beautiful. You probably can't see this. I don't know if you can or not, because my camera is also on a delay, so I don't know. But I'm going to add tomatoes in here now, and we're just going to cook the tomatoes for about 2 minutes, and then we'll add the beans and the rice. Yeah, you can't really see that. In the meantime, I'm just going to give my board a quick wipe down. Guys, I think I'm coming down with a cold. My throat's all scratchy. It's like it's kind of sore. I'm sneezing a lot today. The season's changing. It's not good. It is not what I want right now. Luckily, I have this delicious orange creamsicle carbonated iced tea from TeaNorth. That reminds me. Back here, while our tomatoes are cooking, we have a 6-pack of mixed cans from TeaNorth. You can't even buy these in stores yet. They haven't been released. And next week, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. Yeah, man, cold enough. Next week, I'm going to be giving this away exclusively. This is the only place you can get these in the entire world right now. Is from me. And as an added bonus, if you live within the HRM, I will hand deliver them to you. Otherwise, I'll mail them to you. But if you live in the HRM, I will hand deliver these to your house. That is going to be on next week's show. It was supposed to be this week, but I'm not entirely sure what the contest is going to be yet. But anyway, yes. So exclusive TeaNorth mixed cans. We have raspberry vanilla mint, blueberry bisque, Madagascar coconut, orange creamsicle, which is my personal favorite, classic black tea, and blueberry rodeo. Super exciting. They'll be in stores in a few weeks. You'll be able to get them on the website, TeaNorth.ca, in a few weeks. For right now, this is the only place you can get them. So tune in next week for the giveaway. And again, I will deliver them right to your house if you live in the HRM. Okay, so tomatoes are cooking down a bit. Everything's coming together. I'm going to add the beans in here first. Yes, beans. And now we'll add the rice in. The beans don't really need to heat up. They're going to cook with everything else, so we're not too worried about it. And I have just a half a cup of rice there. And now I'm going to add 1 cup of water. Even though we have everything else in there, we cooked a lot of the moisture out of everything. So we don't really need to worry too much about compensating for that. So we have a half a cup of rice, 1 cup of water, and then you have, beans, rice, everything else. Okay? So we're just going to mix this up. We're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Oh no, I'm out of pepper. Now we're going to add a little bit of salt, and then we'll cook it. So we're just going to bring that to a boil. I'm going to turn the heat up to high. We're going to bring it to a boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, we'll put a lid on it. We'll reduce the heat to low, and we'll simmer for 17 minutes. And we'll set it aside and let it sit for another 17. So, what's next, everybody? We're going to make some peach salsa. I'm very excited for this. So, we're going to take 4 peaches. We're going to take a quarter of a red onion. So we're going to use half of the other half. We are going to use, sorry, I can't read this, it's way too small, I'm sorry. We're going to use 1 lime. We're going to use the zest and the juice. So I have to get a zester here. If you don't have a zester, don't worry about it. Or you can use the finest setting on your cheese grater to make sure you don't get any of the white pith of the lime in there. We're going to use some cilantro, some olive oil, and some salt and pepper. Okay? So we're going to need a bowl. Luckily I have one right here. I'm just going to give these peaches a quick wash. Now I'm just going to take my knife, run it, okay, so if you look at a peach, I should do this first. If you look at a peach, it usually has a line that runs down it. That's going with the pit. So the pit isn't a circle, right? It's kind of oval shaped or oblong. Hold on. Rice is almost boiling. So you want to cut with that line. Alright, and that's going to bring you right along the pit. And we're just going to kind of pull this apart. Okay? Now I'm going to cut it in quarters. And if your peaches are soft, this might not work out as well as it's working for me. But what you can do is just cut around the pit. So 1 pit out. So I'll show you what to do if your pits don't come out easily. You just use that same line, but you cut just off the side of it. Okay, so you don't cut through the pit. So you're going to cut about ½ centimeter offside. So that's what you're left with. And then you can just kind of run your knife down along the pit and clean it off as much as you'd like. but I recommend trying to get the pit out this way first because there's a lot less waste on it. It's just a lot easier to get more of the peach. Okay, rice is boiling away quickly. Lid on. Timer set to 17 minutes. And heat down to low. Okay? I'm just going to keep going on these peaches. So again, that line that's in the peach, I don't know if you can see it from back here. This line right here, see how it goes around the peach? Follow that with your knife. Follow it with your knife. Just turn the peach. Yeah, Wendy asks, should they be firm? Yes, for this you want them to be firm. A soft peach is just kind of going to fall apart. And she also asked, how do you tell if a peach is good? So there's a few different ways. First of all, by feeling it. Oh, this is real tough. If you're eating a peach right away, like these ones are really hard, but I bought them for that reason. If you want to eat a peach right away, it should be fairly soft, but not like mushy. And you can smell, you can give it a smell, and it should have like a really nice peach flavor. That's kind of how you know it's ripe. These ones don't really smell like anything because they're not ripe yet. But yeah, so if you're looking for a peach for something like this, I always prefer something a little firmer. It's just easier to work with, easier to cut. See? Just break it off. And it still tastes really good too. Okay, so all of our peaches are clean. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my half peach. I'm going to cut it about 1/2 centimeter thick. Skin on. And then I'm just going to do the same thing. So we're going to end up with pieces of peaches about that big. Okay? This is going to be a fairly chunky salsa. And then we're just going to put them in the bowl. These are actually delicious. Now this one is a little bigger, so I'm actually going to cut it in half first. So I'm just going to cut it like that. Just because we want a chunky salsa, but we still want everything to fit in the tortilla. And we want nice texture. Not, we don't want it to be impossible to eat. You know? Oh, guys, I almost cut myself. Oh, that was close. Ooh, that would have been embarrassing. Well, ooh, this was the first time in a very long time. See, even professionals cut themselves. Oh, almost. It was stupid. It wasn't a slice. It was the knife came back and stabbed me. Careless, careless, careless. So I'm just going to do this with all of the peaches. Just going to dice them all up. Try and get them about the same size. All about the same size. That's true. Wendy says adrenaline rush. Absolutely. I'm very excited. My adrenaline's pumping. I'm super excited for fish tacos. Things are getting crazy in here. Knives are flying around. People are getting stabbed. It's insane. So with the quarters, I'm just going to cut them in half again. See, like an 8. I'm going to cut it in half this way. See? And then we'll dice it just like everything else. Donna, the knives, well, this knife is a Groman, which is out of New Glasgow. And I have a few different knives. This one is handmade by a guy my mom used to know, who was just outside Antigonish. The blade is a blade from an old steel mill, I believe. And then this, it's a steel blade from an old sawmill. And then the handle is a recycled cherry wood shipping pallet. It's a beautiful knife, but I barely use it. This is just a Chinese vegetable cleaver. And then this is another knife that was made by a friend of my mom's. I don't really know, but I've had it for a very, very long time. But the knife that I use mostly is this, which is a Groman, which I love. So this one's a little big too, so I'm going to cut this one down a little bit as well. In retrospect, 4 peaches might have been a little much. This is going to be a lot of salsa. But it's going to be really good tomorrow with eggs, or pretty much anything. Just remember that. You know what? I'm not going to use this last peach. I'm going to set it aside. I'll eat it later. Because we have a lot of peaches in here. So Wendy asks if I use ceramic blades for herbs so they don't bruise and don't discolor. I don't. The reason being that my knife is really sharp, and so usually when I chop herbs, the knife's sharp enough that it's not going to bruise them too much. And it really has a lot to do with how you hold the herbs and how you cut them. Ceramic blades are really good for lettuce though. So that it doesn't bruise. And to combat that, I actually just tear my lettuce. I don't use a knife on it generally. Yeah, that's typically what I do. I'm not opposed to ceramic blades. I just don't have one. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about ceramic blades. Okay, so in these peaches, I'm going to add 1/4 of a red onion. So I have a half here. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to peel it, and then we're going to do the same thing we did when dicing the other onion, but it's going to be a little more difficult because the onion is going to kind of want to fall apart, but that's alright. We're only going to need to make 2 slices. We want to cut it a little bit smaller than we did with the onion for the rice. And again, like next to no waste. So onions in the bowl. I'm making a mess. I got onions all over my floor right now. Okay, so what else are we going to add to this? Peach salsa, we have 1 jalapeno. Now, we took the seeds out of the jalapeno that went in the rice. But I want the salsa to be a little spicier. So I'm actually going to leave, well, I'll do the test first. We'll do the sniff test first. This one's spicier, but I'm going to leave the seeds in because, like I said, I actually really like spicy food. But, you know, I'm going to leave that completely up to you. Don't do it just because I'm doing it. You know your spice tolerance way better than I do. So if you think that you don't want to put the seeds in, then just take them out. But I'm going to leave mine in. And with this, you want to cut the jalapeno as small as you can. Nice and thin. Nice and thin. Hello, Robin. Thanks for joining us. I'm just going to run my knife over it 1 time, even though this is the exact thing that I said not to do a few minutes ago. So, you know, do as I say, not as I do. All right, guys? That's That's how this works. Just do as I say, not as I do. And again, we're going to wash our hands. Because you do not want to burn your eyeballs out with jalapeno juice. Also, I should have said as well, when you're cutting peppers like this, always cut skin side down. So have the skin on the board. It's less likely to shoot juice in your eyes that way. It's less likely to bruise and get bitter. The knife is less likely to slip. And that doesn't just go for peppers like this, that goes for bell peppers or any kind of pepper. Always cut with the skin on the board so that you're just cutting through the softest part of the pepper. Okay? So in here right now we have peaches, onions, and jalapenos, and to this we need to add a quarter, is that true? Quarter cup of cilantro. So I just bought a printer, and usually I handwrite all my notes and they're in big letters. And I printed them out today, and I didn't print some of them big enough. I don't always have the recipes written out, but there's like 5 recipes here, so I thought I should write them out just in case. And I can't really read them from that far away. So we're going to take a quarter cup of cilantro. If you have stems in there, it is okay. Because guys, you know what? Stems have just as much flavor, if not more, than the leaves. Right? If you have the giant stems that are on the bottom, maybe leave this out of this application, but they're really good in like a curry paste or something like that. But for this, you can leave some stems in there. Don't worry about going through. Oh, this is so boring picking all the leaves off. Don't do it. Although if you have some dead ones, get rid of those ones. But just leave the stems in there. Just rip the cilantro off, cut it out. Much, 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 much easier. So herbs, you just ball up as tight as you can. I did wash this, but I don't think I did a very good job. And then we're just going to cut it nice and fine. And all I'm doing here, I'm sure I've told you guys this before, I'm just balancing the knife and then finding the counterbalance point, and then just using the natural shape of the blade to kind of do the work for me. And you don't have to, like, this doesn't have to be super fine. It's okay if there's a little texture to it. It's a lot easier to pick out of your teeth when it's in giant pieces, you know, as opposed to the really tiny ones. And now we are going to add the juice and zest of 1 lime to this. So first and foremost, I'm going to give this a quick rinse. We're going to give it a nice dry. And then I'm going to use my zester. And again, once you get to the white part, stop, because it gets very, very bitter. And when you zest, always zest directly into what you're using the zest in. Charlene says that she loves cilantro. I love it too. I was one of those people for years that thought it tasted like soap. I hated it. And then a sous chef I worked for just continuously fed it to me, made me eat it over and over. And then I learned to love it. And now it is, I use it all the time. Mexican is one of my favorite cuisines, and I use cilantro constantly. Sorry I have to keep stopping, guys. My throat's really scratchy. So again, when you're zesting citrus, zest it directly into what you're using it in, and that way you're getting all the essential oils, which is where a lot of the flavor, if not all of the flavor, is. And you really, like, as soon as you start to see like this part, stop. If you see the white that I think you can see there, that's too far. Even the tiniest little bit of that white pith will make this whole batch of salsa bitter. So you really don't want any of that white part in there. So as soon as you get to like a light green, stop and move on. And we're going to zest this whole thing into here. And again, you can use a cheese grater, like the really finest setting on the cheese grater. Just be careful, because it's going to take a lot of zest off. And if you don't have that, then don't worry about it too much. You can always use a vegetable peeler. But the thing is, if you do use a vegetable peeler, you're going to get the pith. Right? I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of white there. So what you can do is actually scrape that off with the tip of your knife. It's not the easiest thing. I'm doing a terrible job of it. Anyway, you can just scrape it off. It's very labor intensive. I recommend not doing this. But if you do, and then you can just slice it as fine as you can and add that in. But it's a lot easier just to get a microplane. So we zest, we zest, we zest. We zest some more. This isn't a very good microplane. This is the one I use for home, the one I use when I go to people's houses for cooking lessons or dinner parties. It's much better quality. But I try and keep those things separate because if I leave it in our kitchen it gets lost or damaged or something. So I use the crappier stuff at home. Okay, so I'm sure we all know this by now. Before you juice citrus, always give it a nice roll. Don't put too much pressure down because it can break open. But you just want to roll it to loosen up all the cells in there. And then again, we're not going to cut it across the equator. We're going to cut it north to south and just offside. And if you don't know what I mean, this is what it looks like. So this is the top of the lime, the bottom of the lime, and we just cut it like that. The reason being, if you don't know, is you get way more juice out of it because you're working with the natural structure of the lime or the orange or the lemon, whatever it may be, as opposed to against it. And then when you're here, you do the same thing, just off center, just off center, just off center, and all you're left with is this middle part, and you just squeeze that in there as well. And this will maximize the amount of juice you get. So that's my rice. I'm going to pull it off the heat, set another 17-minute timer, and turn the burner off. I'm just going to get the rest of the juice out of here. Okay. I'm just going to give my cutting board a quick wipe because it's getting messy. This beautiful end grain AshWurks cutting board, which you can get at ashwurks.ca or at the Seaport Farmers Market. Donna, are you guys there? You're open like 7 days a week down there? Or are you guys, how often are you guys? I think they're open 7 days a week. Donna will tell me in a second. Yeah, so you can go to the Seaport Farmers Market and AshWurks is open there 7 days a week. And they have beautiful boards like this one. They have them like this one. They have them like those. They're gorgeous. I love them. Check them out. Or go to ashwurks.ca as well. Okay. We got to mix our salsa up. We're going to add a little bit of salt to it. We're just going to give it a mix. We're going to add just a little touch olive oil, probably about 2 tablespoons. Just kind of loosen everything up, bring it all together. This is a very fresh salsa, obviously. It's going to have a lot of bright flavors. Super excited for it. And now, let's kind of give it a taste. You might need a little bit more lime juice. I'm thinking it's fine. Oh, I made a mistake with the jalapeno, guys. That was a mistake. Ooh. No garlic, Wendy, not in here. We're just going to put the garlic in the rice. Oh, man. That is delicious. Yeah, it's a little hot. Once it's like with the taco and everything, it'll be good. But just by itself, I think I just got like a big bite of jalapeno. Excuse me for a second while I cool my mouth down with a peach. That was good. That was tasty. Okay. What's next? Next we have to make some guacamole. Guacamole. So we're going to use I'm destroying everything. I'm making a mess on my floor. I'm burning my face off. I'm just so excited for fish tacos. Okay. To make the guacamole, we are going to use this new finagled tool called a masher. Now, obviously, you can make guacamole in a food processor or something like that, but if you don't have a food processor, this little guy works just as well. Okay? I know, I poked myself with the knife, I'm dropping stuff on the floor. What is happening? I don't want to use that bowl, it's too big. I'm just going to use a nice medium-sized bowl. And now, oh yeah. I'm sorry again, I'm sorry. Avocados. So we've got 2 avocados here. Please be careful with avocados, guys. Don't be foolish here. Don't hold it in your hand when you cut it. There's a really good chance that the knife can go through the pit right into your hand. Just be smart. Just put the avocado down. Roll your knife around it. Okay? And then we're just going to twist. Twist. Oh, that's a big pit. And now, give that a little smack. Twist. And then use a towel and pull the pit out. Okay? That's the safest way to open an avocado. And we're going to do it again. Just so you know, this one's going to be garbage. Do I have a back? I do have a backup avocado. So this one's garbage. This one I'm sure of. A little soft, but it's all good. The other one was just really brown and shitty around the peel, or around the core rather, around the pit. And so I didn't want to use it. So we're just going to peel this. Just going to pull the peel right off. Hopefully not just in 1,000 little pieces. I know you can use a spoon to do this, but I find that peeling it like this, you don't lose any of the avocado. I find with a spoon, you end up losing a bit of it. And avocados aren't cheap, so let's not lose any of it if we can avoid it. Okay, 1/2 done. Two halves. So Wendy says avocado not ready, not ready, not ready. You sleep, it went bad. Yeah, avocados are jerks. Plain and simple. They ripen very, very quickly and without notice, and then go bad very quickly. If I don't have a way to slow down really the ripening process of an avocado, I'm sure there is one, but I'm not aware of it. If anybody does know, please share. But what I can tell you is a way to speed up the ripening process. So if you have an avocado and it is hard as a rock, which is often the case when you go to the grocery store, you know, they're not ripe yet. If you take the avocado and you put it in flour, just completely cover the whole thing in flour and let it sit for a day, it's going to ripen way quicker because there's an enzyme in the flour that actually speeds up the process. But be careful because you leave it in too long, it's going to over-ripen very, very quickly. Yeah, that'll do it. So we have 2 avocados in here. To this we are going to add the other half of our tomato. What am I trying to do here? We're just going to dice it up nice and just like a medium dice. It doesn't have to be too big because we are going to mash this. Tomato. And tomato. Now, traditionally this would be made in a big kind of mortar and pestle. There's a specific name, I can't remember what it is though. But I only have a medium-sized mortar and pestle, and I'm assuming that a lot of you don't have mortar and pestles. So to me, the easiest way to do this is to do it with a masher. I like texture to my guacamole. That's why I don't do it in a food processor. But I mean, if that's what you like, you are welcome to do it in a food processor. So we have half a tomato. We have 2 avocados. Really quickly, I'm just going to add some lime juice in here. The juice of 1 lime. That's going to add flavor, but it's also going to help to prevent the avocado from going brown, which is what we absolutely do not want. We don't want brown avocados, guys. We definitely don't want brown guacamole. Okay. I'm also going to add the rest of this red onion because that's how we don't waste by just using everything, right? I'm going to cut this smaller than any of the onion I've cut today because we don't want giant chunks of red onion in our guacamole. So again, we don't want to waste any of this onion if we don't have to. And we don't. So, 1/4 of a red onion into the bowl. And now we're just going to add a bit of cilantro. We want about 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro is what we're looking for here. Chop cilantro. Wendy, the fish is not in the oven yet. The fish is only going to take about 12 to 13 minutes in the oven. So we're actually going to put it in as soon as we're done the guacamole here. So in here we have 2 avocados, we have the juice of 1 lime, we have half a tomato, 1/4 of a red onion, and about 2 tablespoons of cilantro. Now we're just going to add a nice big pinch of salt. And then we are going to do my favorite dance, the mashed potato. It's the only dance I know, and I'm very, very good at it. We're just going to mash it. mash, 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 mash. Okay, I'm just going to put this in a smaller bowl, something nice, with a nice bowl. There, the way you can see it. Oh, it's delicious. Nice and chunky guacamole, which is going to be really, really good on our tacos. We're just going to cover this with plastic wrap. When you do this, you want to actually push the plastic wrap down right against the surface of the guacamole. Make sure there's no air pockets in there, because that will cause your guacamole to go green or to go brown. Okay, and then we're just going to set that aside. And now the fish. So here I just have a cutting board that is, sorry, a sheet pan that is covered in parchment paper. And I have some haddock. And it's frozen haddock, and so there's quite a bit of liquid on it, but that's okay. Pat it dry once we get it down there. So I'm going to use a paper towel. I'm just going to pat it dry. So I'm patting it dry, so that it cooks better. Because if we put it in the oven and it's covered in liquid, then all that liquid has to kind of evaporate before the fish is going to start to really cook through. So I'm just going to kind of dab this all off, and then we'll get it all seasoned up. So for the fish, I'm going to go with a little paprika. This is smoked paprika. If you only have regular paprika, that is perfectly fine, but I like smoked paprika. So we're just going to nice sprinkle, and I'm doing this fairly high because it allows the spices to spread out evenly. If you do it way down here, you're just going to get big clumps of spice. Now I have some cumin, and we're just going to do the same thing, nice and high. It looks cool, but it also has a purpose. I'm going to do the same thing with some salt. Also, I said 2 fillets of haddock. Don't freak out that I have 3. I had 3 in the freezer, so I figured I might as well just use 3. And if you have pepper, now would be the time to use it, but I am out of pepper. I don't know how that happened, but I am out of pepper. And then we are going to also add just a touch of olive oil. Sorry. So I'm just going to put my thumb 3/4 of the way over this bowl of my olive oil. And I'm going to just drizzle just a touch of olive oil over the fish. And then when this comes out, we're just going to give it a nice squeeze of lime juice. And that's it. The rest of the flavor is going to come from the salsa and the guacamole and the sour cream, which we're going to make now. So we're going to pop this in the oven. We're going to set a 13-minute timer. We're going to make our sour cream. Okay, sour cream. There's not much to this one. And we're just going to do it right in the container. If you have other uses for your sour cream, then by all means put it in a separate container and don't mix it all in here. But this is the only thing I'm going to use it for. Okay? So, what am I going to put in here? We're going to put the zest and juice of 1 lime. Again, don't get any of the white pith in here. You just want the flavor. And Yes. So when he asked, when I have a minute, can we see the different flavors of the cans? Yes, we will have a second once we're done this, and then I will show you the cans again. And again, we are doing a giveaway with those next week. And if you live in the HRM and you win, I will drive them right to your house. And if you don't live in the HRM, I will mail them to you. And if you do win, and I drive them to your house, please don't be a murderer. That's all I ask. Please don't be a murderer. Okay, so we have the zest of 1 lime, and we're going to add the juice of 1 lime. The juice. Because it's starting to smell really, really good in here, and I am getting really hungry. I'm very excited to eat these. Tacos are, they're one of my favorite foods. I've said that about a lot of foods on here, but tacos are, like, I mean, they're one of the best foods in the world, I would argue. And so I'm very excited for this. Okay, so in here we have the zest and juice of 1 lime. We have 250 ml sour cream, and to this we are simply going to add some cumin. We're going to add about a half teaspoon, I'd say. Is that what I wrote down? Oh, I said a teaspoon. All right, we'll add a teaspoon. About a teaspoon of cumin. Okay. And we're just going to mix it up. And this is really nice. You put it in a squeeze bottle and you can squeeze it over, or you can just spoon it over, which works really well too. In retrospect, you should put this in a bowl and whisk it all together. It's much easier. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I made a mess. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, that's delicious. So we're just going to set that aside. And so if you taste it right now, it probably isn't going to taste too cuminy. It probably isn't going to taste very too limey either. But as it sits for about 10 minutes or so, those flavors are going to kind of pull out, especially the cumin flavor. And then we'll stir it up before we use it. And you'll just get way more flavor out of it. So let's talk about the teas real quickly. What do we have? So in the front here, the green one is raspberry vanilla mint. This one is berry bliss. We have Madagascar coconut. We have orange creamsicle, which is what I'm drinking here. We have the classic, which is just black tea. And we have blueberry rodeo. If you don't know about these, so these are, there's no sweetener in them. They're not sweetened. It's all natural tea. It's all organic. And it's very delicious. And it is carbonated. It's a local company. It's made in Bedford. You can buy it at, I think, any or almost any Stobie's location, but right now it's in the bottles. And Pete's carries it as well. Yeah, and soon the cans will be coming out. But like I said, this is the only place in the entire world that you can get these cans right now. And that'll be on the giveaway next week. Yeah. Alright guys, let's talk about rice. Okay, let's talk about rice for a minute. So we have our rice and beans in here. It's all cooked up. It's all cooked up. But it is not quite done. Because we need to add, by this point you should be able to guess that we need to add some lime zest, some lime juice, and some cilantro. Of course we do. So before I open this and let all the steam out and let all the heat out, I want to get my zest and my cilantro and everything in here. Because I don't want this to cool down well. I don't want it to cool down while I'm mixing this stuff in. Keep looking. Oh, Wendy said she keeps looking. I don't know. It might just be Sobeys in the HRM. I thought it was the whole province. I might be wrong. I'm sorry, Wendy. But you can. I'm pretty sure you can buy it on the website now. You just can't buy the cans on the website. Check out TeaNorth.ca. They'll have more information than I do. So I'm just going to zest this lime right into this bowl. I left the sticker on, which means I also didn't wash it. Shit. Oh well. Wash your lime. I'm eating this. I'm alright with it. But definitely don't zest your sticker into here. This is not a good flavor. We zest, we zest, we zest. Some would say that this is the zest of life. Huh? Guys? Thumbs up? Come on. Come on. That was good, right? Guys? I thought it was good. Boo. Okay. Is that one? I got one smiley face from that. Guys. So again, we're just going to roll the lime. We're going to cut the lime off center on a north to south axis. We're going to cut it and cut it and cut it, and then we're going to squeeze it all in here. Oh, Wendy, if you're looking, the tea is usually in kind of the natural food section or like the specialty food section. It's not in the chiller with the rest of the drinks. At least that has been the case from what I've seen in the HRM. And I know for a fact that Sobeys on Main Street or just off Main Street in Dartmouth has it. I know that. I'm pretty sure that Sobeys on Wise has it. The only one I'm positive doesn't is Sobeys at Penhorn. But Pete's has it as well. Okay, so in that bowl we have the juice and zest of one lime. It might be with kombucha, but it's not usually in the fridge. It's usually on the shelf. Yeah, look in the specialty area. That's probably where you'll find it. Okay, we have our zest and our juice in there. We're going to add about a quarter cup before it's chopped of cilantro. And then we're going to chop it up. Chop it up. And again, don't worry about getting it too fine. This doesn't have to be like a powder. We're not looking for a cilantro dust here. We just want a nice chop so that you get a little bite of it in every mouthful. Okay. Now, if your tortillas aren't warm, which I'm assuming they're not, and you want to warm them, now would be the time to do that. So if you have, it doesn't matter what kind of tortillas you have, if you want to warm them up, pop them in the oven and get that done because the fish is almost ready. Mine are still warm because they're wrapped in the towel, so I don't need to worry about it. Oh, rice and beans, guys. Rice and beans. Okay. I'm going to use my sushi paddle. So here we have our rice and beans, and I'm just going to scoop all this out of here. Beautiful, beautiful. And we're just going to mix this up. Oh, it smells good. Let's give that a taste. So now a little bit of salt to it. And I'm actually, since I have it out, I'm actually going to give this a little bit of a seasoning. Cumin, just a touch. And just a little bit of smoked paprika as well. Because you know what? Why not? You know, if we can add some more flavor in here, it's flavorful, but if we can add some more flavor in here, why wouldn't we? Let's take a look. Oh yeah, that did it. That was really good. So I will admit that it's a little wetter than I would have liked. I guess I didn't cook the liquid out of the tomatoes enough. That's my bad, but the texture's still good and it's not like, it's not soaking wet. Not the end of the world. Alright. Just like one of my wife's hairs just stuck to my hand. Okay, so let's give this a good wipe down. Dry it off. Now let's take a look at the fish, which is just about to be. It is done. The fish is done. Just like that. And now, you guessed it, a little bit of lime zest and a little bit of lime juice, so I got rid of my zest. So all this is going to do is kind of brighten the flavor up a little bit, just kind of pull the flavor of the spices out. It's going to be beautiful. We're not going to need the whole lime. That's probably just one little slice here will be enough, or juice rather. Beautiful. I'll break this up into smaller pieces. See how easy that comes apart? I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's coming apart very, very easily. And it's still moist, it's not overcooked. Perfect. Let's make some tacos. Oh my god. Knocking everything over. Okay. This is the good part, guys. This is what it's all been building to. Tacos. So I'm going to do 3. I'm not going to play around. I'm going to eat 3 to start, let's say. So, first things first, let's go a bit of guacamole down. So anything that you have to spread, you want to get that down first, obviously. And we're going to kind of spread it over the whole thing. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want a nice even coating of guacamole. Now we're going to add some fish. Beautiful. Next, a little bit of peach salsa. Right over the top here. Now to finish it, a little bit of our cumin and lime sour cream. Beautiful. Hello, Mike. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm just going to take this lime and cut it in half. And what we're going to do I'm going to take the sticker off it. Meaning these lime stickers. And that's going to hold our tacos up. And we're going to put a nice scoop of this rice on here. And guys, here we go. Fish tacos with guacamole, peach salsa, and cumin and lime sour cream. And Mexican rice with red beans, tomato, and jalapeno. Super excited to eat this. I'm going to bring it a little closer so you can appreciate the colors and the beauty. It is gorgeous. Guys, thank you so much for watching and for joining me. I hope that you've made this, and if you haven't made it tonight, I hope that you're making it in the future, because that's the whole point of this, is to get you cooking. I'm so excited to eat this. It's going to be really delicious. If you don't know, what I do, for a living, I am a personal chef, which means I teach private cooking classes. I do dinner parties. So if you would like to hire me for one of those, or if you're interested, just go to chefbenkelly.com, or you can just message me right here on Facebook. Yeah. Thank you to AshWurks Cutting Boards and TeaNorth Carbonated Iced Tea for sponsoring the show. Thank you to all of you for watching. And remember, next week we are going to be giving away this exclusive 6-pack of TeaNorth Carbonated Iced Tea cans. You got to watch to win. I have to say, Facebook is in no way affiliated, or does Facebook at all endorse this contest. And by entering the contest, you excuse Facebook of any and all liabilities. I had to say that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to my sponsors. I hope that you have a fantastic evening. I'm not 100% sure what we'll be making next week, but you will find out on Wednesday. I will see you all on the flip side. Have a good night, everybody. Catch you later.